Hey guys, you're in a nutshell with me, Ina. I think it's clear, it's evident, na ang International Student Program, isa po yan talaga sa pinaka naapektuhan sa mga paghihigpit na nangyayari sa immigration ng Canada. Some are even saying parang nagkaroon ng overcorrection, nasobrahan. Bakit nila sinasabi yan? Alam nyo, it's because of the data regarding the new student arrivals. Ito sa 2026 and also in 2025. Because of the changes sa International Student Program, yung pagbaba ng student arrivals, new student arrivals, it went way beyond what the IRCC thought, what the IRCC estimated. In some months, kung ikukumpara month versus the month in the year prior, alam niyo, bumaba yung new student arrivals ng mahigit 90%. Ganong kalaki ang naging epekto nito, no, nitong mga recent policy changes. Let's just name a few of these changes. Nilimitahan kung sino na lang ang makakapagdala ng kanilang spouses and families. Tinaasan din yung required funds na dapat dalhin. Dalawa lang po yan sa marami pang ibang mga pagbabago. And now, kahit na ito na nga yung sitwasyon, some are saying there's been an overcorrection, meron pa ring nakikitang room for even more reforms. In this episode, we're going to talk about the ones that are being proposed by the House of Commons Committee on Immigration and Citizenship. Baliktad yata ako, it's the Committee on Citizenship and Immigration. Naglabas po ang committee ng formal report and it's been uploaded on the official website of the House of Commons. You guys can go to it yourselves. Isa-summarize lang natin yung what I think are relevant to our viewers. Pero ito po ay resulta nung kanilang mga naging hearing o meeting, kung tawagin dito, no, tungkol sa International Student Program. Resulta po ito ng kanilang consultation sa iba't ibang mga resource persons na kanilang inimbita. Okay, ito po yung report. Again, you guys can see this for yourselves. Ayan, okay. Committee report, ayan, Reconstituting Canada's International Student Program. Napakahaba po nito. So, as usual, nag-screen grab ako ng mga recommendations. Meron po silang 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 recommendations. Ito po yung listahan, ano. Hindi po natin itatackle itong 10 ito dahil medyo mahaba. Okay, so let's go to the first recommendation. Ayan, recommendation 1. That IRCC further increase the cost of living threshold for international students beyond the annual updates to the low-income cutoff amount established by Statistics Canada. Further increase. Kasi alam naman po natin, tinaasan na nga po yan. Let's just give an example. Kung mag-isang student lang, dati 10,000. Ngayon, kailangan 20,000 plus. Iba pa po yan, madadagdagan pa yan kung meron kang dependents na kasama. So the committee is saying it's still not enough, dapat taasan pa yan. Meron ding sinasabi dito na dapat daw kasi ang pagbatayan, hindi lamang yung, ayan o, yung nasa bandang baba, nakita nyo, yung low income cut-off amount established by Statistics Canada. LICO, kung tawagin, LICO. LICO or LICO, I'm not even sure how that acronym is really read. But anyway, ano po yan kumbaga poverty, low income threshold po yan. Diyan ini-index in a way yung nire-require na pondo for international students. Ang sabi ng committee, hindi po yan dapat ang maging batayan. Okay? Dapat lampasan niya ng husto because international students are a different category of people, very different from low income families here. Yan po ang sinestress nitong report na ito. Okay, now let's go to recommendation number 2. That IRCC introduce random audits for designated learning institutions and clear penalties for DLIs issuing misleading documents. Okay, isa po kasi dun sa natuklasan nila na pag-usapan dun sa mga committee meeting ay yung mga peking acceptance letters na for some reason ay nakalusot dito sa mga learning institutions na ito. Meron pong isang portion ng report sinabi, no, there were over 14,000 potentially fraudulent letters that were identified. So kailangan, sabi nung committee, magkaroon ng mas efficient and effective way of verifying these acceptance letters. Kasama siguro yan sa gusto nilang gawin na random audit sa mga DLIs. What's worrisome about this issue of fake letters of acceptance, nililink po kasi yan sa mga international students who end up committing crime when they get to Canada. Basically, ginagamit lang nila yung international student pathway para makarating dito, pero hindi po talaga nila intention mag-aral. They end up becoming members of these crime syndicates. So, ang sabi nung isa po sa mga resource persons doon sa committee, I'm reading kasi yung detailed part, ko na lang i-upload at i-highlight kasi napakaliit ng font. Ano? So, sabi po nung isa sa mga resource persons doon sa committee, kailangan itong mga institutions na to, mas maging vigilant. At dapat i-alert nila yung federal government kapag meron silang mga nakikitang ganitong estudyante. Siguro yung mga non-compliant, nasa na nga sila. Okay? Recommendation 3 na ating pag-uusapan. Iyan. That IRCC establish caps. Ito, gusto ko to, sa totoo lang. Caps on study permits and study permit extensions to those applying as nationals from countries with a high rate of permit overstays or asylum claims. Anong palagay nyo dito? Ako, I like this idea. Kumbaga, pag ma-detect na ng IRCC na parang, bakit itong bansang ito, ang dami lagi mga estudyante nito, biglang nagsisik ng asylum? Bakit yung mga estudyante dito mas may tendency, a significantly higher rate of students na nag-overstay. Again, either overstaying or claiming asylum. I like this idea. Again, only if talagang may significantly higher rate of overstays and or asylum claims. Alam ko sa might say na kawawa naman yung mga genuine students, pati sila maapektuhan. The way I see it kasi, I think it could help push officials of the affected countries to do something about the issue of students coming from their country likely submitting all this fraudulent documentation, di ba, para makarating sa ibang bansa. In this case, makapunta sa Canada. Kung gusto nilang tulungan yung mga genuine students nila na makapunta pa sa ibang bansa, ayusin nila yung sistemang yun. Hulihin nila yung mga tumutulong sa mga peking estudyante with fake diplomas, fake police clearances, etc. Okay? That's the way I see it. O, yung pang-apat na pag-uusapan nating recommendation. Yan. IRCC with the provinces and territories publish clear, plain language program rules and expectations for prospective international students and Canadians, including integrity measures, housing and support expectations, and that immigration pathways are competitive and not guaranteed. And that IRCC require designated learning institutions to inform prospective international students of the same. May kinalaman po ito, guys, dun sa pagbibigay ng mga false promises sa mga students. Yung mga nagbibigay ng guarantee na, oo, mapi-PR kayo, basta sundin mo yung sasabihin ko sa'yo, itong course ang kunin mo, yung mga ganyan. Itong course ang kunin mo, tapos ito magiging trabaho mo, ito agad sweldo mo, tapos alam mo, kayang-kaya ng sweldo mo makakuha ng bahay doon. Yung mga ganyan. I think this recommendation aims to address that. Sabi ng isang portion ng report, international recruiters and DLIs have also used pathways to permanent residence to attract international students and sometimes under false pretenses. That is a direct quote here. Colleges and international recruiters have engaged in really aggressive growth strategies. Sabi dito, many times, promise was made to many of these students that would put them on an immigration track in Canada when the simple fact was that there were not enough PR slots to accommodate the huge volume of students we were letting into the country. Again, I am reading directly from the report. Next. Yan. Okay. Monitor language proficiency requirements more strictly for international students study permit issuance. Hindi ako masyado nakakita ng details tungkol dito, but I just assume na talagang kailangan nga naman marunong mag-English. Para isa kasi yan sa magpapatunay na gusto talaga nilang mag-aral because lessons here in Canada, courses here in Canada are taught mostly in English. Kung makita na hindi naman talaga sila magaling mag-English, likely hindi mataas din ang chances na sila ay succeed dito sa Canada, di ba? Kung hindi naman nila maiintindihan yung mga klase dito, bakit kaya nila gusto mag-international student dito? Alam naman natin din, ang daming namimeke ng mga English exams. Okay, ito na po. Last na lang to sa mga pag-uusapan natin. Again, there are 10 recommendations in the report but we're only reading 2, 4, 6. Okay? Last na po ito. Yeah, recommendation 8, that IRCC defer to provinces and territories about labor market needs when setting the list of study programs eligible for post-graduation work permits. So gusto po ng committee ay mabigyan ng mas malaking role yung provinces and territories tungkol sa kung sino na lang ang pwedeng bigyan ng PGWP. Dapat daw yung mga probinsya ang magdidictate. Ito na lang mga estudyante na nasa ganitong sektor ang bigyan ninyo ng PGWP dahil yan ang mga kailangan ng ating probinsya. Yan ang na-identify natin na kailangan natin. Yan lang po ang ating pag-uusapan. So what do you think about these recommendations? Recommendations pa lang po ito. Sa ngayon, hindi po natin syempre alam kung ito ba talaga ay susundin ng IRCC or hindi. Alright? We'll end this episode here. Let me know what you guys think about these proposed reforms. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!